Well, it is Monday, and thanks for joining us here on the 10 Weather Impact Show. I'm meteorologist Justin Gehrts.
And I'm meteorologist Aaron White. And finally, a nice day. We got the sunshine.
Yes, so excited. No, it's nice looking out there. Saturday morning, we were outside for about an hour for tennis, and it was just like stocking cap, puffy coat, gloves. I wasn't playing, right?
In May. What's going on here?
Not fun, but I guess if I had been playing, I might have actually warmed up a little bit instead of just watching. Yeah. But yeah, nice
Sitting
to
in the
see,
cold temps. Yeah,
right. Nice to see the warmer day while we have it.
Yeah, I mean, sunshine, temperatures up to close to 70 already this afternoon. So a nice change from this that pattern that we're stuck in with the colder air coming down, and we only got to 51 on Saturday after starting off in the 30s. So made some progress here today, and I know we got some changes coming tomorrow.
That we do, and that'll usher in cooler temperatures once again. So that is a thing we're going to be dealing with here in the coming days. But we do have that 10 weather impact alert for later on tomorrow. Not because it's going to be severe weather, not because it's going to be flooding rains, but because it's election day and there's stuff going on, of course. So later on election day, probably after 4 or 5 o'clock is when the majority of the steadier rain is going to be moving into the area. Now, there are going to be some periods of showers before then, but the steady stuff is going to be coming in later in the afternoon into the early evening. So what you need, either have the umbrella with you, or if you have the option, if you're voting, do it earlier in the day because the rain is going to be less prevalent compared to what we have in the evening. Speaking of rain, let's take a look at live radar. But a couple little showers way off to the south early this afternoon. However, the bulk of the rain activity is still off to our west. Even had a few rumbles of thunder earlier on in central Indiana. This activity is scooting off toward the east, but you'll notice it's kind of falling apart some. Just the same for the evening hours, we are going to be watching for the potential for a couple of storms to pop up. There's a level 1 out of 5 risk of a severe storm in this green area, generally north of 70 and 71. Northwest Ohio is now in a level 2 risk, as there could be a few more of the stronger storms up that direction. If anything does get strong today for us, it would be gusty winds and small hail. Not likely that's going to happen, but it is something we'll be watching for you throughout the afternoon into the evening. Here's that hour-by-hour forecast. As again, we've seen a couple of those little sprinkles or light showers off toward the south. The bulk of the scattered storm activity later today is going to be to our north, but I can't rule out a few of those again popping up here in central Ohio. Those roll off toward the east, and most of the night is looking fairly quiet. That said, late tonight, early tomorrow morning, some passing showers work on by, but it looks like late morning through the midday hours, not a lot going on for a lot of us. We'll pause here at 2 o'clock as we start to see some more showers developing off to our west. Those steadily roll off toward the east, and here's 5 p.m. tomorrow. You'll notice the farther north and west you are, the more activity there is. South and east, not quite much of anything just yet. Throughout the evening, though, rain becomes more widespread. Here's midnight tomorrow night, Wednesday morning. A lot of green on the map indicating that there's going to be widespread steady rain moving across the area. Could be a rumble of thunder, but any severe weather risk is almost nil with this just because it's nighttime, it's a steady rain, just not the ingredients there for anything like that. We'll continue this throughout the overnight hours, and then by 7 o'clock Wednesday morning, the bulk of this steady rain is going to be wrapping up. Early commuters on Wednesday may have some decent rain still coming, but as the morning drive goes on, I think it's going to be less and less of an issue for us. Now, during the day on Wednesday, we'll still see some little periods of passing rain. However, the bulk of it is going to be wrapped up by the time a lot of us are getting going during the day. Also, something with the next 2 days, even when it's not raining, it's still going to be pretty cloudy out there, so enjoy today's blue sky while you have it. As far as the rainfall outlook for this week, the bulk of this does fall tomorrow evening and night through early on Wednesday. This stripe of bright blue here indicates potential for at least an inch of rain, lower amounts as you head south and east. But it looks like Columbus Metro solidly in the likelihood of at least a ½ inch to an inch the way things are looking at this point. Outside right now, it is nice. We have a lot of sunshine, just some passing friendly clouds, no big deal. And that's helped boost our temperatures up to about 70 as of 2 o'clock in Columbus. We're at 72 in Delaware, 70 Circleville, Lancaster 71. Still a couple of us hanging out in the upper 60s, but any way you look at it, it is a fine afternoon, especially compared to what we've had around here recently. Now, we have the sunshine warming us up. Also, those southwesterly winds steady at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. We've had gusts pushing past 20 miles an hour, so it is going to be a breezy afternoon. Peak wind gusts the rest of the day, probably 25 to 30 miles an hour. Those do back off quite a bit, though, as we head past sunset. All right, so 74 is your high today. An isolated storm is possible late. We'll be having that weather impact alert for the PM hours tomorrow. Again, mainly because we have the steady rain for the end of election day. About 70 for a high tomorrow. Some periods of showers still possible on Wednesday. 59 is the high, 57 on Thursday. Slight chance of a shower in the area Thursday, Friday, but by and large it looks like almost everybody's probably going to be dry the way things are looking at this point. Just cool to finish off the week, but we are back to 64 at least on Friday. For the weekend, small chances of showers as it appears right now, but with this unsettled weather pattern, timing some of these out is a little tricky. In any case, temperatures should slowly climb back to the mid to perhaps upper 60s later on next weekend. That's still below average, but at least we only have a couple of days in the upper 50s and no frost in the forecast.
Which is good. I mean, those 50s I know are a little bit cool, but it's only a couple of days and we get the 60s back in the forecast. And eventually I think we'll get back to the 70s and 80s. Probably not until, I would say, what, the second to third week of May is kind of the trend right now. Yeah. Unfortunately.
It looks like, what are we, May 4th, of course. Yeah. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
He's talking about that. So, yeah, we still have probably another 10 days of generally below average temperatures to get through. But we'll make it there. I mean, it's the time of the year that, you can't have the cool air last super long.
Yeah, and at least we got today, with the sunshine. And as we talk about, all the sunshine here today, of course, the UV index is on the high side as we are seeing that higher sun angle this time of year. And of course, as we continue on through the rest of May and into the summer. So just be sure to wear that sunscreen with at least an SPF of 30 to protect you from the sunburns and potentially developing skin cancer.
Yeah, meteorologist Meredith Garfalo shares her story about skin cancer and why regular checks are so important.
Did you know that May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and the first Monday every year is Melanoma Monday, where we start the campaign to raise awareness nationally? I'm a strong advocate because I actually had skin cancer a little bit more than a year ago. I found a weird looking mole. It was on the back of my leg in an area I would never think you could get skin cancer. And a family fact, my Grammy actually had skin cancer on her toe. And you think, okay, it's only in areas where the sun hits and blah, blah, blah. The thing is, you never know, and skin cancer can develop just like that. And so checks regularly are so important, and I didn't do it before. And I'm so glad I caught it early, because if you catch it early, it's treatable. Then, just a little bit earlier this year, you can see here, I had to have another mole removed that was precancerous, that was on the way to becoming skin cancer. So let my message encourage you to continue to get those checks and raise awareness, because by doing this, we can save lives every single day. And one little check could be the decision that helps you stay healthy and could also inspire somebody else to get checked and catch cancer early as well. So spread awareness with me today.
And definitely some good advice, just one check. If you think something looks a little strange, get it checked out, because you just never know sometimes.
Yeah, and as Meredith talked about, in places that you wouldn't normally think about, the back of a leg, on a toe, like that.
Exactly.
I would never consider those to be high-risk areas, but as she talked about, it's anywhere can have that happen.
Yeah, so wear that sunscreen and stay safe here this summer. So as we switch gears from talking about just the UV index and also the dry conditions that we're seeing now across a large part of the country, the U.S. Drought Monitor, there are large swaths of the nation facing those drought conditions.
Yeah, in Virginia, some farmers say this is the worst drought they've seen in decades. As Wayne Koval reports, the dry conditions are pushing their operations to the financial brink.
I planted these beans April 1st, and once they came up, they have not gotten any bigger, no rain.
And that no rain is causing problems for farmers across the Commonwealth.
If you look at the state drought monitor, the whole state is pretty much in trouble.
Billy Bain is a well-known and a long-established farmer in Virginia. He's testified in front of Congress 6 times on behalf of agriculture. At 81 years old, 2026 marks his 58th year planting crops here in Dinwiddie County.
We had to stop planting because it's so dry.
Andy says it's one for the history books.
In my opinion, it's the worst ever. We always use 1980 as a benchmark for a terrible drought.
Combining a lack of rain, high input cost, and low commodity prices, Billy says farmers are hurting. Rain could help quench some of the pain. Billy Bain says these soybeans didn't have enough moisture in the ground to stand a chance.
This field we're in right now is going to have to be replanted, and it looks like maybe 1 or 2% have come up. You see plants like you got a plant here, and you skip 18 inches, and then you got 3, and in that period we should have had 20 plants, and we only had 4.
As for their 1,000 acres of corn,
I haven't witnessed it this dry in April ever.
As for this cornfield, Billy's grandson Aaron says,
Yeah, just looking to see if there's some moisture. There's a little bit in this ground because it's had some deep tillage this year. But I mean, it's not enough to make a seed come up. It's just powder dry. There's nothing to it.
and if a lack of rain isn't bad enough,
This field got a little bit of frost damage.
and the hay planted to support the farm's cattle,
Well, the dry weather shortened it. We should have had our first cutting of hay in the barn, but it's out there, you know, the growth is about a third of what it should be.
crews spent much of Thursday morning working on equipment to plant peanuts. But peanuts need the rain just like the other crops. Double B farms could irrigate, but free pond water actually costs money to use since it takes electricity or diesel fuel to run the pumps.
It's very costly per day, especially when you're looking at diesel fuel prices.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately that they're dealing with the drought conditions, and they mentioned also the crops facing a little bit of that frost, like we saw actually just the last week.
Yeah, over the weekend, those temperatures dipping into the 30s. I know that we had frost both Saturday and Sunday morning. So, yeah, just a widespread issue here recently.
Yeah, and I know some of the farmers have already gotten some stuff planted out in the fields around here in Ohio, dealing with a little bit of that frost. But thankfully around here, we aren't really seeing the drought conditions. This is a look at the latest drought monitor across the country, and you can see where it is really bad, and that stretches all the way from Virginia down to the south and east, especially areas in Georgia and parts of Florida, where we're seeing some of the more extreme to even exceptional drought conditions there, where you see that red and even that brown color showing up just to the west of Jacksonville, southern Georgia, northern parts of Florida. And these are some areas that have actually been dealing with even wildfires in the last few weeks, especially in southern Georgia, just because of how dry conditions have been. Now, there has been some rain that moved through over the last few days, especially in parts of Florida. They actually had some showers and storms bringing them some beneficial rainfall. But it's going to take a lot of rain to really help with the drought conditions here all across the southeast, and even back towards the west. It's not just the south and east, but you got drought conditions all across the central plains, especially from Nebraska into parts of Oklahoma and Kansas, back into Colorado. And California is still sitting pretty good as they've had some good rain and snow over the last couple of years, digging themselves out of a fairly serious drought that we saw just in the early 2020s, but that has since changed. But of course, it all comes down to how the weather pattern is really going to evolve as we go through the rest of the summer and through the rest of 2026. But here's a look at Ohio. And as you can see, conditions are still sitting pretty good, as we don't really have any drought conditions until you get to the far southern part of the state, where there has been a little bit less rainfall. But as we have talked about with the forecast, we have that rain coming in here for tomorrow into early Wednesday, so likely maybe helping with the drought conditions, at least here in Ohio. But other parts of the country really still need it.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we can keep our fingers crossed that we don't have any drought issues coming up anytime soon. Of course, the nice rain that we've had recently, and then, of course, what we have coming up this week should keep any of those concerns away for a while yet.
Yeah, you know, and still watching how things are developing out across other parts of the country, especially, you know, we mentioned the wildfire there in Georgia.
Yeah.
But other parts of the country still dealing with it too.
Yeah, fire crews in Arizona are battling a wildfire that is 0% contained, and it's burning just west of Phoenix, with crews battling the flames on the ground and from the air.
Yeah, and so far about 300 acres have burned, and the drought there not making things any better, and so is the rising cost of actually fighting the fires. CBS's Carter Evans is in Los Angeles with the story.
When a wildfire breaks out, aircraft are often first to the scene with a critical water drop. Large air tankers like this DC-10 can carry nearly 10,000 gallons.
But it's not cheap.
It's not cheap. They can be anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 an hour, up to
$25,000 to $30,000 an hour for some of the larger aircraft that's out there.
And Paul Peterson, executive director of the United Aerial Firefighters Association, says the rising cost of jet fuel is making it even more expensive. It's up more than 65% in the last 2 months.
Larger aircraft, they're going to burn hundreds of gallons of jet fuel an hour. Ultimately, the taxpayers are going to pay those costs.
Last year, the U.S. Forest Service spent more than $52 million to fuel firefighting aircraft. This year, the budget is $45 million. But the agency told us aviation fuel prices will not impact our ability to respond to fires. In California, jet fuel prices have surpassed $10 a gallon at some airports. To save flight hours, CAL FIRE is training on flight simulators, and they told us aircraft are strategically placed across the state, so flight time to a fire is minimal. Keeping our aircraft in the air is a non-negotiable necessity for public safety, even when jet fuel prices are sky high.
The potential cost of not sending aircraft, the impacts to communities easily are in the hundreds of millions to billions of dollars.
And this is not just a West Coast problem. Today, wildfires are burning across the country, from Nebraska to Florida. Carter Evans, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And hopefully some of those areas will get some rain soon. And before we go today, we want to check out some new video into us here at 10 TV. This one actually taking place over the weekend. SpaceX has been launching a lot of rockets to carry some Starlink satellites. And there was another launch just over the weekend, taking that rocket and those SpaceX satellites into low Earth orbit from the Space Launch Complex at Vandenberg Space Force Base. This actually marks the 33rd flight of the rocket's first stage booster, previously supporting that mission. And really cool to see those Starlink satellites and how many they actually have up in orbit now. We were looking at the numbers, and it's up to just over 10,000 across really in orbit around the world.
That's a lot of satellites. I remember seeing the trains from some of the early ones, and it was like, oh, that's wild to see. And more space stuff here. NASA astronaut Chris Williams posted a stunning view of the stars in the galaxy as seen from a window aboard the International Space Station. In a caption posted to Instagram, Williams answered a question he gets frequently about if the stars appear differently in space. He says, quote, "We get a view of the stars very much like being in a very dark place on Earth, and because of our orbital inclination, we get to see the stars of both the northern and southern hemisphere."
Yeah,
it's also weird
really
to think
cool.
about. Right, because like we're so used to our sky view at night that you don't think like, oh, other parts of the world, like they have a completely
Totally
different set of stars they look at. Like, oh, like there's the Big Dipper.
Right?
That's us. Like,
we get to see it, other places don't.
Right, because the North Star is where it points to and all that.
And when we were talking about the comet recently, Comet Pan-STARRS, that was visible here in the northern hemisphere, once it rounded the sun, it actually crossed to the point where we couldn't see it anymore, but those in the southern hemisphere actually can still see it right now.
Very interesting.
So, kind of some cool stuff how it all works. And one last thing before we go. We've talked about the rain in our forecast here, and that's going to lead to some worms being more seen.
Yeah, you've heard of snake charming, but some people are trying it with worms.
Yeah, so a quirky festival in England has contestants competing to coax the worms out of the ground without digging any holes. The team that brings up the wiggliest worms wins, and they work with 1 square yard of land and have 20 minutes to charm their worms. Some stomp on the ground or others sing and use a bit of magic.
We draw the worms from the ground with the spell Lubricus, Lubricus, Lubricus terrestris.
All right, there you have it. So that was actually the Latin term for earthworm. The worm charming contest dates back 42 years. So they've been doing this for a little bit of time. And it started like a lot of British traditions. A couple of mates thought it was a cool idea having a few pints and watching the worms on a rainy afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like the pounding, like, isn't it something like that some birds will like walk and it's like the earthworms sense the vibrations.
Yeah,
and I think
so
it's
they come out of the
raindrops or
ground.
something. I think there may be
something
something
like-
to
yeah.
it. So I will not be out tomorrow or
Not gonna try
Wednesday
that?
trying to coax them out of the ground. But if they want to come out, more power to them.
Right, yeah, just stay inside and just watch the rain, right?
Oh, that just
Yeah.
about does it for us here. But starting at 4 o'clock, Chief Meteorologist Chris Tomer is here with the latest forecast. We'll be tracking any of those pop-up showers or storms that may develop later on today and have the latest forecast for your election day.
Until then, you can catch more news and weather online at 10tv.com.